Okay, hello everyone. Today we are going to go through the sample files, the first few sample files, which are called the basic sample files. So let me just close this. And okay, so I've already got Dynamo started. And let me do a pick nothing to restart the tool. So it's connected. Here we go. So inside of Dynamo, hopefully you will have your 3D view enabled like I have now. And once you've got everything ready, click on Help, Samples, Basics, and these three files. We already did the first one, in the previous video. So I'm going to go straight into the second file, and we'll do the third file too in this video. So let's go. Click Tomo 2. Okay, so what's happening here? We can see we can toggle into the view, the 3D view, and the navigation like I did here. So we can see here that there's a line being drawn with 2 points by 2 points. So how does this work? Okay, it's pretty easy. So what I'm going to do to make it a little more fun for you to understand, I'm going to delete. I'm going to take a screenshot of this guy. Okay. Here we go. And I'm going to keep that on the side so I can have a reference to it. And I'm going to rebuild that script or try to rebuild it from scratch. So you can see the whole process of what I'm trying to do, and you guys can just follow along. All right. So let's just go back to our screenshot. So we can see that we have a line being drawn. Okay, so it looks fairly simple, but let's go and jump right in. So what I like to do usually is start by writing the steps that I need to do to recreate this whole thing, right? So what I usually do is open my just a basic text editor. Word will do, anything's fine. So I'm just gonna zoom in and see what do we need to do in order to recreate that line. Okay, so how to create a line inside of Dynamo. Okay, so number one, we'll probably have to, we can see that in the red line, in the line, we can see a couple of dots here and here, right? Okay, so to draw a line, we need to have those, have 2 points in space, okay? So place a point, and then step 2 is place another point, and then join these 2 points. All right, so this is, I realize this is a very, very, very basic example, but this is just to illustrate my thought process. And once we get into more complex and advanced problems to solve, you'll see that it comes in really handy to have this, like what's called basically pseudocode. So you can always refer back to these steps instead of being bogged down into your script and trying things that don't work. I really find that the simplest approach is usually the best one, because it's always too easy to go very complicated very quickly and get lost. And one of the things that you will have to learn while using Dynamo, and any visual programming for that matter, is to not be afraid to start over and over again, because you'll find that simplifying your solution is often the best way instead of complicating it. So let's just jump right in. So we can almost get rid of that window now. So let's just minimize this. So how do we place a point now? So let's go into Dynamo, and let's start placing nodes. So you can go into the left search bar here and start typing point, and you'll see a bunch of nodes related to points. So Um, Actually, this isn't the best way. Let's click on the X button right here, and you'll see that in Dynamo 2.0, you have a kind of organized library of all of your nodes. So we know that a point is a type of geometry, right? So let's click on geometry, and you have a bunch of further classifications of types of geometry. And we can see here that we only have points in terms of type of geometry. So let's click on that again. You have, again, two more breakdowns, points and UV, points. And here's a useful tip. So you can see here that all the nodes that are under this point category, they have like three icons. Okay, so one of them is green, which is a green plus sign. The second one is a kind of reddish thunderbolt, and the last one is a blue question mark. So whenever you get kind of lost or confused, it's always good to refer back to these, because when you have a green icon next to the node, it means that you are generating a point in this instance. And when you have a red thunderbolt, it means that it takes a point as an input and it does something with that point. And the last one, the blue one, is that it takes a point as an input and it queries that point to give you some kind of information. So you can see here that it actually gives you the x component of a point. So x, y, z. If let's say if point of x of point is 10, then it'll give you that value 10 as a what's called a double. All right, so let's just jump right in. We need a point by x, y, z. Here we go. So that node is right here, positioned into the center of my node view, my graph view, I mean. And you can see that if I enabled my background 3D view, I can rotate, and that point is placed at my origin. So one quick tip that I like to give you is that if you hover over the manipulator of the point, you can actually move that point around, and it works for all three axes, obviously. And even if you hover over the plane, you can move it around, and it's pretty cool. And maybe you saw through the transparency here, but if I switch back to my graph view, you can see that it automatically placed a number slider and hooked it up onto the relevant inputs. So let's just delete all of these. And my point, as you can see, it went back to the origin. So now we need to place another point. So I can copy and paste that, or I can also control, click and drag, your choice, or you can click again on here, your choice, basically. So let's just place another one. No, sorry about that. I wanted XYZ. And by selecting it and going back to my 3D view, I can go here and trace a line, oh, not a line, put my 3D point into some other coordinates. So let's make sure we have, okay, let's put this guy a little bit more up in the air. All right, so now that we have those 2 points, here we go. I like to have my scripts pretty clean and organized, and you should do so too, because as you'll see, it gets very messy very fast. And now that we have those points, we need we need a line. So we need to join these 2 points by using a node that creates a line. So again, let's go back to our geometry. And how do we create a type of line? I'll have to, so line is a curve. And let's go, here we have a line. We can choose best fit through points, or in our case, we want to create a line. Remember, we have the green icon here that tells us that this node is generating a line. And this is perfect because we actually only want to use 2 points. So here we go. My start point is here, and my end point is here. And here we go. We have our line. So let's just double check our results against the original screenshot. There we go. And we have our line. So I know this is a very, very basic example, but it just it gave me the opportunity to show you that you can manipulate a point using uh, the values inside of here by changing the sliders, and you can see it's updating in real time. I can also manipulate the manipulators and just change the line according to wherever I'm placing that point. And I can also type in some values. So I can type 10, 10 or 12, 5, and 3.14. There we go. And I can put these values. I can do Y. I can change it if I want, or I can just put all three on the same ones if I want to. It's basically your choice. So you can see there's multiple ways to do the same thing. So that was the second file. Let's just go ahead and move on to the third one. All right, so help, samples, and the final basics. No, I don't want to change. All right, so what does this do? Oh, okay, so now we're getting into lists. So for those of you who are familiar with Grasshopper, I believe they're called data trees. So lists are actually a very, very important concept inside of Dynamo. What are lists? They're basically containers that have values inside of them. So in typical programming, for example, JavaScript you'd refer to them as arrays. So let's just delete a few of them here. There's no point trying to recreate this because there's actually no geometry created inside of the 3D space, as you can see. So it's what this is doing is basically generating data. So we're using this range node, and this range node is creating a list of numbers. So as you can see, it uses a start, an end, and a step. So what it's doing here, and I'll delete these so you guys can see. If I wanted to create a list from that counts from 0 to 10 by doing 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 until 10. So I'd have to start with a 0, and then it would end to 10. And the step of that would be, well, 1, I would say, deducting with logic. And that's it. So you get the idea. I'm aware that this might be a little bit abstract, but this you really need to understand what lists are and how they work because they are crucial to the way Dynamo works. So please take the time to understand this chapter. I mean, don't be too worried if you don't understand everything. You'll learn how they work and what they do as you practice Dynamo. And once we get on to the next help file, you'll start to understand what they do and how powerful they are. So that's it, and that's basically it. You use the range node to create lists, and those lists are basically arrays of values that you'll use later on to generate a bunch of stuff. And as I said, it sounds a little bit abstract at the moment, but hang in there. I'll show you in the next video how powerful they are and how easy they are to use. Okay, that was it for me. See you in the next video.